What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, and welcome to Lactic Acid, the podcast where the takes are fresh, the ideas are ripe, and that makes us the best in the bunch. If you have been paying attention to pretty much anything social media related, or maybe not, or just, listening around, you know that Nurses Day, National Nurses Day is coming up, and we are going to celebrate that here on this channel, on this page. And there is no better way to kick it off than with our first guest, Miss Heidi Bjork. I made sure I got that. I asked her like 20 times to make sure I got it right. So I am thankful. That's a W to start the show, but I am so excited to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, first and foremost, happy National Nurses Day to you. Thank you so much for everything that you do to keep us safe and the hard work that you put in and day out. So I have to ask you what I ask everybody on this show. If you had to pick a superhero to describe who you are as a nurse, who are you rolling with?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say I'm going to go with Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Wonder Woman?
I just think she's so tough and she just makes it with the rest and she's just fearless. She's great.
I like that answer. That definitely kind of describes, put the team or the universe on your back, essentially, and everything. So that's what's up. I like that. So let's just get it started. So tell me, what made you decide to go into this wonderful, glamorous, tough as nails profession such as nursing?
Oh, so I had up until probably my junior year of high school, I had always thought I was going to go into teaching. I thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to go into teaching. I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to coach basketball because at that time, that was where my passion was. I thought I was way better than I actually am at basketball. So that was kind of my trajectory. And then when I was looking at different colleges and schools, I was bouncing around ideas and I thought, oh, it'd be really fun to be a photographer. And then my parents shut that down really fast. So I decided, okay, well, I can go teaching. And then I found a small kind of private college that had some really great programs. And I had a family friend, a distant cousin who was he actually worked at the college. So he was there and he had told me all about the nursing program there. And I remembered that my mother had gone to school for nursing and she actually couldn't finish it because my grandmother had some health issues and so she had to drop out. But my mother always had that caretaking nature. She was very loving, kind, compassionate. And so the more I thought about it, I was drawn to try that profession. So it wasn't something I initially was drawn to. And so I knew it was a competitive field. And when I started to see how nurses cared for one another and how they can make an impact and got to see how many different avenues you can go within the field of nursing. I was really drawn to try it out and I fell in love. Being a nurse is probably the greatest career path I could have chosen for myself. And coming full circle, now that I have my master's in nursing education, I actually can be a teacher. So I kind of got to combine that, what I originally thought was my original passion, now into nursing.
You low-key could be a teacher, be a nurse. You could still probably be a hooper in there. I want to get to that in a minute because we love the hoops on this show. But that's awesome. So how long have you been a nurse?
So I've been a nurse for 7 years now.
Wow, that's awesome. All in the same location up in Minnesota?
Yes. So I haven't traveled outside of Minnesota. Plenty of need here for nurses as well as the rest of the world. So families here, I'm born and raised. And so here I stay.
What is it about the profession? Obviously, it just from hearing what you said, it's like you found what you were meant to do. It's very tough. It's not necessarily all the time glamorous, but what is it about the profession that keeps you going, that you love so much?
Yeah. So I love the ability to connect with individuals, first of all, from all across the world. I get to connect with people who come for care. What I think is unique about nursing is not everyone gets to see everyone else, their community, in their most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
Nurses do that. So we are the ones who connect with individuals on a very personal level when they're at their most vulnerable state. And you would be surprised at how quickly a connection can be made when someone is in that point with the lowest point of their life where they are completely exposed, raw, their emotions are on their sleeve. You can really impact them much quicker than you can a stranger on the street. And to me, I am someone who thrives on personal connection. I love community. I love developing close personal connections. And I feel that nurses just have this superpower to be able to connect with individuals. We can read a room so well. We understand, a slight nod or a tilt of the head can mean that someone's uncomfortable or they don't understand what's being taught to them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just so unique to be in that state and to really care for them and make them feel a little bit better when they're at their bottom.
It's like, obviously you're a nurse, and so you're kind of a caregiver, but you're also like a psychiatrist, like a therapist, because like you said, someone is coming in there, and not only do you have to do what you do, but you provide comfort and hope, which and empathy, which the world is kind of lacking at this point. When you step in, your office or in the hospitals every day to work, kind of what's your goal? What's your mindset? Obviously, is to get the job done, and you guys have so many responsibilities. But you talk about, you seem just from our brief interaction that you really have a heart for people. And so, does that help you go above and beyond what you're required to do, even at your expense, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think above and beyond is very normal for a lot of nurses. And something that I always try to do is touch an individual and make them, I always say, like, my one true goal in nursing is to give others the belief that they have a higher potential than what they ever thought possible of themselves.
Mhm.
Whether that is the patients or the family members, the loved ones who come to visit, or when I had direct reports as a manager, nurse manager, the individuals that were under me who came with questions, concerns, difficulties, whether it was with the patients themselves or with it was their personal life. Like, I really wanted to instill in them that, like, they were capable of coming through this, making a positive outcome or coming through this ailment that they're suffering from. There is going to be better, and that we should never just focus on the here and now, because here and now can be really rough, as we know, right? So just really reminding people that yes, this is tough, but you're tougher, and there's so much that's to be learned because you went through this experience. So that was always a goal of mine, to give people that hope and make sure that they know that there is forward momentum.
Gosh, can we like call you Coach Heidi? Because that is just like amazing. Definitely that's a message that people need to hear, especially in tough times. And as you said, with this pandemic, it's really affected so many. It is, truly sad. As a nurse, how has the pandemic been like for you, and how have you been able to just deal with it, for lack
Yeah,
of a better word?
it has been so such a whirlwind is basically how I can describe it. So I started my management. So I was at the bedside. I started as a nurse on a general medical, specialized in GI. And then I progressed to a nurse manager role on another general medical floor right before the pandemic hit. Um, so I went from being floor bedside nurse to a manager. And then after a month into my management, I had my firstborn only child, Annie. So then I was also new to parenthood, and then the pandemic rolled in.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
I was new to my transition in nursing and new to motherhood. And I felt the added pressure of being this leader in this very unknown state. And to me, that was really hard because I also felt so chaotic in my personal life. And then trying to bring and feel that I could, you know, exude confidence while I'm in a management role. That was really challenging. And just the ever instability of the whole pandemic was really challenging to still have that positive mindset, right? Because when there's so much unknown and so much fear that is going on to these like rapidly changing environments, it's really hard to keep your cool during it all while people are looking up to you, right? All these people are looking to me like, are we going to be okay? What's going to happen? What is changing? And so I really kind of had to put um, that confident front on, and in the inside, I was shaking just as much as the rest of us.
And you're human. So
Mhm.
it's not as if, just because you're a nurse and just because, you may know, more, you're human, especially that's stressful, bringing a child into this fun world that we live in, getting, moving, switching positions, like that is like trial by fire in such
Mhm.
an incredible way. And so how'd you get through it? I mean, that's a good segue in a second as we transition to running, but in such times, how do you do it? Let's just put it.
Yeah. So it was a period of building resiliency and also self-discovery. I would say I had to really focus on what I could control and
Mhm.
let the things I couldn't control, let those go.
Hmm.
I realized that I needed to take a step back when changes were coming and there was a lot of discussion of what could happen. It A lot of things that were brought forward and the changes even in the hospital setting where I was, they never actually happened
Mhm.
because the times change. And so we would put so much extra energy and effort into something that we thought was going to happen and it never happened. It wasn't efforts wasted, but yet we put so much into one basket without really trying to just take a step back and see how things played out. And I
Mhm.
think that led to a disadvantage for us. So I really became, instead of, I'm a very type A person, as many nurses are, we have everything, we have our checklist, we want to make sure everything gets done. I really had to tune in that type B personality and just chill and let things play out, and then kind of respond as I saw a little bit more permanency into the state.
That sounds very difficult to do. Like, especially, I just said trial by fire, but I mean, I guess this may be a Southern term, just living here in the South. It's like going from the fire into the frying pan. Uh, Listen, more power to you, because I don't even know. I feel like I'm a type AB, if that works, because there's like some type A, some type B, but to make that switch in the
Mhm.
middle of a pandemic, you're Wonder Woman for real. That's the perfect um way to describe you, as you did about the superhero. How did you get into running?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I was a basketball lover. I wasn't, but I'll tell you this. I played on a high school team and I played basketball for 8 years of my life.
Okay.
I remember winning one regular season game my entire high school career.
Mm.
So
Lord have
we we had a lot of heart. We didn't have a lot of skill,
mercy.
but we had a lot of fun.
Okay,
So
I like
I
that.
was into basketball, played a little softball, and then when I got to college, I no longer had time for sports, like competitive sports. And so I was like, well, gosh, I got to keep in shape. What am I going to do? I only have time, but between my classes or early in the morning, you know, between 6 and 8 a.m. to get some sort of exercise in. And so I started running, and I ran 1 mile, and I'd run 1 mile every day, and then I went to 2 miles, and I kept building up and building up and building up. I got faster, and I started those endorphins kicking in. I'm like, hey, this is good, feeling better, a little less stressed.
Hey,
And then I started running my first half marathon, and then a few years later, ran a couple more halves. Then finally, I got my marathon under my belt, and So it's been a journey, and now kind of I still run, but it looks a little different with a 2.5-year-old who's running around, and I have to jump off the treadmill if I'm inside, or pushing her in the stroller if I'm outside, and getting her snacks and water breaks, and it's not as consistent, but I still get out there. I get the miles in.
So how many marathons and half marathons have you completed?
I ran one marathon. I ran the Twin City Marathon here in 2018.
Okay.
And then I have run maybe 5 half marathons.
Say that one more time. How many?
I think 5.
Oh, I heard 25. I was like, what? It's like, oh, okay, that is some definite Wonder Woman level kind of
No.
training. No, but even 5 is just ugh. See, I threw the shot put in the discus, as people know. So I love having runners and distance runners come here and tell me, just like, I run these long distances because I try to, in my head, see, my goal is to one day run a 5K. I don't know when that's going to be, but it's always like cool to see like people come in and they say, oh, these distances I'm running, I don't know, it makes me like inspired for whatever reason. It's like that's an achievable goal. Why do you love it so much? Obviously you mentioned the stress levels, but
Mhm.
for you, um yeah, why do you love it so much?
There's so much in the world that we can't control. And I think that's something that always stuck with me, but there are things that I can control.
Mhm.
And some of the things that I value in life are just health and well-being. That's something that's important to me, and that's something that I can directly control is getting out there, running the miles, making my body work physically, which helps clear my mind, again, serving my mental and physical well-being. It's fun. It's you get that good feel good, you get out there and just like put the miles in, and most of the time it feels good. Like I've never had a run where I'm like, I will never do this again. Like, okay, let me put it this way. I've said that during my runs many times. After I'm done with the run, I don't say that
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to go back out there. During the run, not always fun. I
Oh,
will admit that. During the run, no. After the run, always fun. Um, so it's a good mental break, something I can control, which I think is very important to a lot of us right now with the current state. The more we can control, we feel a little bit better, a little bit more grounded. Plus, it gets me outside in nature, and nature is great. Something that's peaceful about it.
a good friend of mine lives in Minnesota. And so we have these discussions from November to like early February. It's like a yearly thing. I complain about how cold it is down here. Like I think I sent her a text was like, listen, it's supposed to be 30 degrees or 29 degrees at night. Can that be considered cold? And she was like, in Minnesota, that's shirt and shorts weather. I was like, that's like, I'm not dealing with that. And then, when it's like 110 degrees here in the summer, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not coming down there and living in the heat and humidity. What is it like running in Antarctica up there? Like, that's just like, how do you like run in the cold? I can do humidity because I'm used to it playing sports and humidity, but that's a different kind of cold up in Minnesota. How do you kind of adjust to the weather? That's just something I'm curious about.
Yeah, so I have my limits too, right? So I will run, but like if it's below like 20, I'm like, it's a treadmill day, right? Unless it's sunny and 20, then it's different. But like Minnesota weather is like very unpredictable. Where if it's 30 and sunny, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a great weather day, it's usually like 20-mile-an-hour gusts of wind, and so yeah, it's very unpredictable. Layers, lots and lots of layers. Lots of layers. It's so funny to see some of those people out there. All you just see is their eyes poking through. They got face masks, they got ear warmers, they got the long sleeve and the vest and then the windbreaker and we had
So
the spikes for the snow. You have the spikes down there, right?
wow. Okay.
Yep, it
That's
works.
I just need to mentally make a note never to visit Minnesota because that sounds like a lot. I can't do it like that. I don't know, but when you run in cold weather and that cold weather, especially with the wind, as you were saying, when it hits your lungs, I don't know, it burns like way differently.
That's why the face mask. You forgot about the face mask.
Oh yeah, I did forget about the face mask. Okay. Well, it's something
Exactly.
I'm not going to say it's not something I never need to worry about because I may end up covering a meet there in January and just crying the entire time. But no, that's something that I was curious about. So what are some of the goals that you set for yourself running wise?
Yeah. So last year I thought I would recover a little bit quicker than I did. So after having Annie, slow to return to running, less time to be able to kind of get back out there, dealing with different careers and stuff. It was just a little bit more challenging. This year, got a little bit more of a routine. Annie's a little bit older. I can get out there a little bit more easily. I wrote down on my goals, because I write down goals every year, that I wanted to complete a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and or 20 miler and a marathon this year. So
Okay.
I put it out there because you write it down, it's more likely to happen. I really want to hit the trails. That's something that's important to me. So I'll be out on some of the trails here in Minnesota, getting some elevation, getting some different terrain. And I think that'll help me because I won't be so focused on speed, but
Right.
I'll really get to enjoy my time and just try to get some miles under my belt.
Have you started any Ks yet?
My first, so I have 5K in May will be my first 5K. And then I think I'll sign up for a 10 miler trail run in June. So that'll be in there. So I haven't decided which marathon I want to do yet. I'm testing it out, right? Like it's still cold here. And so once I get my more consistent miles outside, then we'll talk which marathon.
Okay. I'm with it. Listen, I feel like it gives you an advantage, especially in the bigger marathons. Because everybody's lungs are like, but then you have like those lungs of steel that from the cold air that penetrates through the face mask and the goggles and everything. I'm just saying, we may end up, I may have you come back on the show after you've run 225, at Boston or Chicago
Yeah.
or New York. Listen, or New York. Yeah, never say never.
Oh, that would be the dream.
Hey, listen, dreams do happen. Dream big, because dreams do happen. So on this show, we want to get a chance to get to know people outside of their profession. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell the people what they want to hear. What makes you unique? What is life for you outside of running and nursing and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I have a husband and a 2.5-year-old named Annie.
Annie. Okay.
Oh gosh, what it is that I do. I'm a huge foodie, and so I love to cook. I like to go out and try new foods. I'm definitely someone who can destroy a kitchen pretty quickly when I'm in there experimenting. I love to do it. I think it's so fun. I am an outdoorsy girl. I grew up on a dairy farm, and my whole childhood was spent on the farm. So it's very hard for me to be indoors sitting still. I do not watch TV. I don't get into movies too much. Except in Encanto. That is an exception because my 2.5-year-old loves it. So we watch that one regularly. But most days you'll find me either at the farmer's market, out on the trails around here, hiking, camping, uh, doing some sort of, I don't know. I like to do stuff like community classes just to learn different things.
Okay.
I'm someone who learns with doing my hands and watching people show me how to do things. So
Yeah.
I'm a constant learner. So that's kind of some of my quirks that I like to do.
So let's get back to food because food is a lifestyle for me. And for whatever reason, I feel like when I'm in the kitchen, as a foodie who loves to cook, I feel like you feel the same. Like I watch Food Network all the time, so I'm like I don't know, Jeffrey Zakarian in there just getting after it every time, or like I'm on one of the places from diners, drive-ins, and dives. What is the meal like that you've made in the past 6 months that's like, this is James Beard level cooking? Like, what is the one that you hang your hat on?
I want to say, so I had these roasted chicken thighs and I marinate them in this homemade pesto with like garlic scapes and like the works, like just homemade pesto, and they're marinated in there and they're pan fried so they get the nice crust.
Chris, oh man.
Oh, those are so good. And you can pair it with just like a fresh garden salad or just some like roasted sweet potato. Oh, I'm just someone who loves just fresh is best.
I'm hungry. Gosh. So like the roasted, oh man, that would go good with some mashed potatoes. That's
Yeah.
big. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what we're having for dinner Sunday
There
in
you
my
go.
house. Oh man, that is amazing. And I love, like, I don't know, I learned after college, really, or during college, the difference between like processed and fresh is like astronomical,
Mhm.
because especially in cooking, you could really, really taste the food. So wow, I'm so thankful that you gave me that. I'm honest to God's truth, I'm going to try it because that is one of the most incredible things I've heard today. I want to get back to you as a hooper, uh, because you played basketball for 8 years. Who, if you had to like give me somebody that described your game, who could you compare yourself to as a hooper?
Oh man, you're gonna have to tell me. Let me describe my game, and you tell me.
Okay.
Okay. So I was a starter, but again, remember my team and our winning streaks. So I was a starter on the team. I was solely meant for defense. I was so gritty with my defensive style. They would pair me up one on one. So they would usually just put me on their best shooter. And that's what they said. They just said, shut her down. That's your sole direction for the entire game is to shut her down. And that was my goal. I could not shoot to save my life. It was embarrassing when I tried, but I was definitely the star defensive player. So you tell me who I would be.
There's a couple names that come to mind. I don't know if, are you a big basketball fan?
I don't know any professionals, so that's why I turned it over to you to
There's
tell me.
okay, so there's a guy on the Minnesota Timberwolves that here's one. Everybody hates him, but you're not a hateable person.
Okay.
But his name is Patrick Beverly. He cannot do anything offensively, or that I've seen. But he's from Chicago. He is a old school blue collar defender that annoys the crap out of everybody because of his defense. Like, he's gritty, he's tough. I was thinking Patrick Beverly or Gary Payton from the old Seattle Supersonics. But technically, if we had to make up a person, you could be like the LeBron James or the Michael Jordan of defense.
All right, I'll take that.
So let's go. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that because and we'll bring in Kobe, Rip Kobe. But all of those guys I named were defensive players of the year in their prime. So let's forget Patrick Beverly. We're going with the GOATs, the MJ. We're going with Bron, and we're going with Kobe of defense. Like,
All
how
right.
how are we rocking with that? Does that sound good to you?
Oh, that sounds great. And
Uh,
you just lifted me up today. I'm feeling good.
I listen. Defense wins championships.
Mhm.
Now, it's not your fault that your team only won one game, but one thing that you could say, you did your job night in and night out. So that's how we're rocking. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. I hate technology if you didn't hear that in the previous episodes. But what we were discussing, the question that I wanted to ask you, how has running helped you in this pandemic? You talked about the mental aspect, it being good for your mental health, but, what has it taught you throughout this entire craziness that we've been dealing with for over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think with everything feeling like we can't make momentum or progress or do the things we want to do, it's given me a little bit of solitude knowing that I can still reach goals and I can still be bettering myself while all of this is unfolding around us. There are things within my own control that I can really try to make a difference in my own life, and I think that's really been important for me to be able to see progress, meet goals, and really be able to hold on to something that's really near and dear to my heart.
Last three questions. How do you want to change the world through nursing, through being a nurse?
So I really, like I said before, I really want people to be able to find hope and joy in some of the most challenging, vulnerable, emotionally charged times in their life. That's when I think we really formulate those bonds that drive community and connection. I think that's something that's going to sustain us lifelong.
How has being a mom kind of changed your mindset of, both running and nursing? Especially, since Annie was, born pretty much in the pandemic, essentially in the start of the pandemic.
Mhm. Yeah, she's only known pandemic world. It was really challenging because we didn't have any friends or we don't live close to our family, and so we couldn't rely on anyone to try to raise her during the early stages. And so we really just had to dig deep and care for one another. There is something so special about having a child in your life who brings pure, raw, honest joy in every day, little things. You could make monkey noises at her and she would think that's the best thing that's happened to her today. And I don't take those moments for granted. I'm selfish with my time with her because I never want her to leave my side because I value her so much. Joy is something that is harder to come by these days. And she and children in general, she embodies that every single day in such simple things. So I've really tried to adapt that more of a mindset to recognize little things in my life that bring me joy. And I do little things that I know bring her joy. And same for my husband, my family. I really try to focus on those small things. I think that's made a really big difference in our family here.
That's amazing. Last question before we get to the rapid fire and then get out of here. What is something on this leading up to the National Nurses Day? What is a myth about nursing that you would like to see debunked? Or what is something that you wish people would know and learn or understand about the profession?
I would say that there is a lot right now, there's a lot of change within healthcare. And I think a lot of nurses are not getting some of that direct gratitude and appreciation that maybe we once did, or they're to a point where the emotions have become so challenging to the point where they're ready to detach. Um, and it's easier to detach than continue to go through some of these really difficult days that they are experiencing the high amount of burnout right now. I I want people to really know and understand that nursing takes a lot of heart, but it's a lot of hard work. Uh, and oftentimes the expense is the well-being of the nurse themselves. They will 100% give and give and give. But I think it's really important for those to understand that there is a point where they can't expect the nurse to provide a cure or give them everything that they need to overcome these challenges that they're facing. Nurses also need empathy and compassion because they are just as much humans. They have personal struggles, they have relationship struggles, they have family struggles, yet they are committed to showing up day to day, caring for people who are at their worst, who we know people don't always respond them best selves when they are at a very low emotional state. They're in pain, they're suffering. People respond very differently, and it's not always positively. But those nurses, they understand that and they still give and they still give. But I just want people to be able to show them compassion and recognize some of that sacrifice that they're giving to them as well. And just that mutual respect.
Amen. Amen to that. Couldn't have said it any better. So we're at our last segment called Down the Home Stretch. I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions, and all I ask is that you answer them to the best of your ability as fast as you can. If you do not, it's really no big deal because very few people do anyway. I think we've had about 4 or 5 people so far answer it to the best of their abilities. And once, well, I was going to say they're going to get medals, but I can't promise that, but they'll get a shout out at some point. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If there was a food that you had to keep for the rest of your life and a food that you had to get rid of, what would they be?
I would keep yogurt. I would get rid of cottage cheese.
Can I? Okay. Why cottage cheese? I agree with you. Don't get it twisted. I agree with you, but that's the first on the show.
I can't. I eat a lot of weird things and I don't mind it, but something about the curdled milk, it's a texture thing. It doesn't sound good when you describe what it is. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Mad respect. Take it off the shelves ASAP. It needs to go. It has to go. If you had to be a guest star on any Food Network TV show, what would it be?
Chopped.
I like that. You know what we got to do? They have a nurses edition of Chopped. We got to get you on that show.
That would be fun.
Hey, Amanda Freitag, Ted Allen, listen, we got to get our girl Heidi on the show. She would mop the floor with anybody across the United States. That would be fun. We got to make that happen. What is your dream vacation spot?
Oh, I would love to go to Ireland. Love to go to Ireland.
Okay. If there was a course or a trail that you would run at every day, what would it be? And it could be never run at before.
It can be something I've never run at before.
I
think I would go over and run in like the Swiss Alps. Just beautiful countryside, mountains. Yes, that's where I'd run.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Okay, a couple more questions. So I have to alter this one since you are not a TV watcher. If there was someone that, if you could pick anyone to read to you for the rest of your life, who would it be?
Read to me?
Yes. So it could be like a Morgan Freeman or Oprah, anybody. Like they would read your reports to you like, good afternoon, this is what's going on the daily or whatever.
I'm going to say Ellen DeGeneres.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. Why Ellen?
Just because she's so funny. And man, I just think she would be a riot having her read everything to me.
Okay. That would be, I can't get mad at it. And she might do it too. That is something that's true. What is a Minnesota dish that people should get hooked to?
Oh, tater tot hot dish.
I do not understand that.
It's so good.
Please explain why. I had to get that question in there.
Because it has all your food groups basically into one dish, and it's cooked, and it's got bubbly melty cheese, and it's got the tots all kind of crispy on top, and it's just so comforting in each spoonful. Like, I know it doesn't sound good to anyone else outside of here, but it is so good. You will be converted. Come up here. we'll convert you into a tater tot hot dish fan.
You promise?
Yes,
Okay.
I will make it for you.
Okay. Listen, you turned me on that chicken dish, so I believe you. So you completed down the home stretch, but I have one more quick food question. These egg rolls that you guys make, it's a you know what I'm talking about? It's what is it?
Explain.
It's like I got to get my phone. Oh, sweet Jesus of Nazareth. A friend of mine sent it, and I want to, and it's something, it's like, it's so hard to explain, and I'm getting frustrated, but it's like pickles, it's cream cheese, it's
Oh yeah, pickle wraps.
oh boy. So the texture,
It's
but what is it?
corned beef,
Oh, it's corned beef. Okay.
corned beef, cream cheese, pickles. You
Beef.
pickle, or you take the corned beef, you spread your cream cheese across it, right? You put
Okay.
your pickle, you roll it up, and then you cut it up into like sushi type style.
Okay. I didn't know it was corned beef. So that kind of makes it a little better because I thought it was ham. It's like, why am I doing this with ham? Like,
It's corned beef. It doesn't make it any better. I'm not a big fan. We have it on every holiday, every get together. It's just like it has to be there. But it's either you love it or you hate it. But everyone knows what it is up here.
I see, because I guess it's something you guys do on New Year's Eve. And so when it was sent to me, I was like, is this an accident or something? But okay, I thought it was like a
Real
ham.
thing.
I was like, you can make a ham sandwich. But listen, I'm gonna take your word on that tater tot dish because it's something that like is a foreign concept to someone down here. But I mean, listen, it's like a tater tot loaded fries to me. So listen, I can get with that.
Wait, you had KFC? KFC. Have you ever had their bowl, like the KFC bowl?
No, it didn't look good. But is that what? But I know what it is. I do know what it is. But we have
Okay,
other places like that with mashed potatoes and corn and cheese.
that's the same concept.
Okay.
That's the same. You put everything together, and it tastes good. And
Okay.
try
Listen,
it. You
I,
gotta try it.
I promise you, Heidi, on everything, every piece of chicken I've ever eaten in my 27 years of living, I promise you, I will try that. I'm always down to try good food. And the way you described it, I wish Orlando so that I would get off this podcast and we would go do it. Heidi, thank you so much for all that you do. Happy Nurses Day. Happy Nurses Day to all of the nurses. Usually I kind of, promote Lactic Acid. Just go on the social media, Lactic Acid _pod on Twitter, Lactic Acid podcast on Instagram, and then subscribe, Apple, Spotify, and then go on the website, lacticacidpodcast.org. We have everything that you need. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell a nurse you appreciate them, and we will catch you next time.